It is Friday, March 28th, 2025. This is another edition of Baseball Today. That is my man, Trevor Plouffe. I am Chris Rose, producer Dan, intern Sawyer along for the ride as well. Hope everybody had a magical opening day, except for Rays and Rockies fans, whose opening day is today. So enjoy that. That'll be the first game of the day. Awesome. A couple of tips of the cap, Trevor Plouffe, if you're okay with this. Our buddy Yelly, awesome job. Showing up in New York City with the plaid outfit, of course, the legendary late Bob Uecker, very famous for his plaid jackets. Yelly can definitely pull it off.
He's been like super thoughtful lately in like on his social media as well. This is something I figured he would do something to honor Euchre because they were good buddies, and this is awesome, man. Yelly's a good dude. He gets it.
Totally does. Totally does. We'll see him momentarily on this show. The other tip of the cap, all the way across the country, Ichiro showing up in full uni, first pitch 84 to his old catcher Dan Wilson. Why not?
Dude, I saw him. I don't know if this was like 2 years ago. I saw him out there with Julio throwing missiles from center on a line to third base. Like people say like, "Oh, you look like you could still play." Like I think he could still play. Like really could still play. Not just he looks good enough to play. Like I think the skill set's still there.
You know what it was? It was all that stretching he used to do. He had
Oh,
that
that's stretching.
seriously, that ridiculous stretching that he used to do.
Maybe.
Ridiculous, not as in like, oh, that's silly, but ridiculous as in he's the most limber person I've ever seen, sort of stuff. But now he can still, like most guys who are in their 50s, if they throw that hard, his arm's going to be dragging till July.
Somebody told me that when he got to Seattle, he like bought a brand new weight room for stuff that he wanted.
Mm.
He like built his own weight room or something like that. And that doesn't surprise me. It sounds like something Ichiro would do.
Yep. Huge star, headed to the Hall of Fame this summer. Awesome. One guy who is destined for Cooperstown was back at it. They already played a couple of games in his native Japan, and on Thursday, he had Dodger fans standing up and applauding yet again.
Here's the 3-2. Shohei hits this one to left. It's carrying over the wall. He delivers again. Ohtani, a home run. Tom Hanks must have called it. Magic called it. And the Dodger fans are looking forward to seeing that for years to come.
Yeah, he's in 8 more after this one, where he's going to get paid $2 million a year. Anyway, it was so interesting because Teoscar Hernandez told Buster Olney afterward, I think it was him or maybe it was Tommy Edman, one of the two, who said when Ichiro goes oppo, it's like a righty pulling a ball. It is crazy. He hits the ball in that stadium where it doesn't make sense.
Yeah, that statement right there is reserved for the real deal power hitters. I've heard that said before about I mean, guys like Jim Tomei, guys like Miguel Cabrera, like it's reserved for like the elite home run hitters. And he, I think, maybe takes it further than anybody. When he goes backside like that, I don't really understand. I've said this before on the show. I don't really understand like the swing of Shohei. It definitely mechanically looks a little bit different, but when he gets his like when he gets extension, like and he gets that ball out over the plate and he's able to get his arms extended, it's 9 nights. Bye-bye.
It's crazy. So now the Dodgers are 3-0, pair wins over the Cubs in the Far East, and now this one where Tarek Skubal didn't even get out of the he didn't throw a pitch in the 6th inning. He was done after 5, and Teoscar Hernandez took him deep. Tommy Edman took him deep, and he didn't make that many mistakes, but enough against this sort of lineup and with that sort of pitching that the Dodgers will bring at you. So they're 3-0. Do you think that the players care about the single season wins record, which of course sits at 116?
I think they'll care if they win the World Series. Okay, like, and that sounds weird, but like they'll look back on it and be like, not only do we win the World Series, but we also won the most regular season games in history. If they win the most regular season games in history and then get bounced in the first round of the playoffs, they won't care about it at all. That's kind of the way I think about it.
Okay, but you can't go backward here, right? They can't know that they've already won the World Series. So the only thing that's at hand right now is setting the single season. They won't come out and say it because y'all are just so focused on the next day. but they've got to be thinking about it.
I don't. I honestly don't think that that's a goal in their mind. I think it's World Series or bust. I think that's it, and it's a byproduct of that. If it does happen and they break it and they win 117 games, like, will they celebrate it? Sure. But again, and maybe like Chris, a week leading up to it, like last game of the season, a couple days before, I think they'll think about it a little bit. But again, honestly, I'd be so curious to see what they do. So, Chris, say they're at 114 wins with a week left in the season, and they've already clinched everything. What do they do? It's not, you know, and even if they do sit people, they're still their roster's so deep. I don't know, man. I just don't think they care about it. I don't.
Well, it's interesting because the only thing that we have by comparison is, the Warriors from a few years ago. We have the Patriots from 2007, where they had already, if memory serves me right, they had already wrapped everything up heading into the last regular season game, which I believe was against the Giants, to go 16-0 in the regular season. They didn't have to play everybody, and they did, I believe. They went after it. They obviously ran all the way to the Super Bowl, and Eli and the Giants ended up getting them. So they prevented the perfect season. But, man, they wanted it. They wanted to be the first team because the Dolphins, back then, they weren't playing 16 games in a regular season, the 72 Dolphins. So they wanted to best them and win the Super Bowl. But we don't talk about the regular season as much, obviously, because they didn't complete the job. But here, I bet you anything. They might not be thinking about it here at the end of March. They might not be thinking about it in the middle of the season. But when they get to September and they're within sniffing distance of the two teams that won 116 games, that's the 0-1 Mariners, who obviously never made the World Series because they haven't as a franchise, and the 1906 Cubs, who didn't win it all either. They're going to be thinking about it.
Again, if they're faced with that situation, what are they going to do? I don't think they run after that. I just don't think they care about that. I don't know, man.
It'll be a great talk.
I think we agree to disagree here.
Let us know. Let us know what you think. Do you think that the Dodgers players are thinking about it heading into the season here, 3 games in? And if not, will they, if it's standing in front of them come September? Just let us know. I know we're 6 months off. We just got started, but it's something fun to kick around there. All right, let's move on. And a pair of former Milwaukee closers, they had to sweat it out in the 9th, but they got the job done.
He is headed home. Struck him out, and the Yankees win it. Acuna will run from first. And Soto chases a slider, strike 3, and the Astros beat the Mets on opening day.
So Devin Williams did the job against the team he was with last year, the Milwaukee Brewers. That was up in the boogie down, and Josh Hader struck out Juan Soto, who, of course, has done a little playoff damage against the left-hander before. Both of them needed more than 30 pitches to wiggle out of the jams. It wasn't pretty for either of them. Which nail-biter was more fun to watch?
I think it was the Hader against the Mets. You get to see him face Lindor, who, in that situation, I believe it was bases loaded, and he hits the sac fly to center. He got a pitch. This is the thing. Sometimes you're up there, and you're like, I want to do the right thing. I just want to put the ball in play, hit a sac fly. Like, let me do my job. And then you get a pitch like he got, and he, it was up. But, if he was thinking about turning on that pitch, it's a different situation and a different result. But he does his job, gets Soto up there, and then, it was a 3-0 count. And Hader spins up a get-me-over slider to get back to 3-1. And then Juan chased 2 pitches, very uncharacteristic of Juan. Fastball up and then that slider away. But that matchup was great. I think that's what, as a baseball fan, as a Met, you want Juan Soto up there. And as maybe like a Yankee fan, like our producer Dan Rourke was probably like, he was the biggest Josh Hader fan of all time right there. It was a very polarizing situation.
Yeah, a little odd that Yankee fans would be rooting for somebody wearing an Astros jersey. But as I mentioned, you'll remember it was the 1-game wild card in 2019 where Soto, who I believe was 19 years old at the time, got the huge hit in the 8th inning that gave them the lead. It went under Trent Grisham's mitt. That whole thing happened against Josh Hader. So that was definitely fun. In the meantime, with Devin Williams, I had to go back and check in on that game because I was knee-deep in all the games that started at 4 o'clock Eastern, an hour after the Yankees and Brewers. I was like, oh, okay, Williams is going to come on and close it out. It was a 3-run lead, and he was all over the place. And so I just went on Twitter. Why not? Just to see what Yankees fans' reasonable reaction would be for day one. And they're like, well, this guy sucks. Where's Luke Weaver when we need him? Like, he's fine. This guy's really good. It was day one. This shit sort of happens occasionally. So they were both entertaining, in my opinion, for maybe different reasons. So Hader and Williams are interesting guys. Hader has now got his big fat 5-year contract. Williams, of course, is in his walk year. Which one do you have more confidence in after last year's shaky postseason performances?
I have confidence in both of them, Chris. I mean, I've seen those guys pitch so much already that I can't base one game and worry about them whatsoever. Williams, I thought he was kind of all over the place, and when he was in the zone, he was like in the middle of the zone. So when you do that, big league hitters are going to get you no matter what. I don't know. Again, I have confidence in both those guys. There's no one that I'm actually worried about almost whatsoever, Chris.
I am.
Okay.
I'm worried a little bit about Josh Hader. He's coming off of his worst season. Last year, a 104 ERA plus, which is still above league average, but it's not what we're used to with him. And it was his worst in a full season. He gave up a dozen homers, which is odd too. And I know that in parts of that field, it can play a little short, but he played in Milwaukee, which was a hitter's ballpark for a long time. So he gave up 12 homers last year. He'd given up 11 in the previous 2 seasons combined. They're both going to be 31 this year. Williams turns at 31 in the fall. Hader turns it, I believe, early next month. And at some point with closers, it goes quickly, man. It goes real quickly. And we've talked about this with Josh Hader, that part of the reason that he put the limitations on when he was being used was early in his career. They were burning him out in Milwaukee. And he and his agent wisely put the brakes on that, particularly after he got traded to San Diego. He's like, this ain't going to work. Like, I'm not doing 3 days in a row. I need to make it to free agency. No problem with that. That's his arm. That's his world, his life, and he secured his future. But I think at times last year, he showed that he was susceptible to being much more normal than Hader-ish.
I think there were times that he got clipped essentially, but all like the other metrics are saying that he had around the same exact season. The expected ERA, the batting average against maybe your speed, 192 against the sinker last year, 190 in 2023, 117 batting average against the slider last year, 100 against it in 2023. Those are phenomenal numbers. I think that.
So how do we explain
I
it?
think in his role, that the times that where you do get clipped, which is going to happen over a career, like you're going to run into some guys that just square the ball up at the right launch angle against you. I think those obviously show more in his role, but I think overall, like he still was pretty dominant.
I don't know. He didn't feel like he was.
94th percentile in expected ERA, 99th percentile in expected batting average, 100th percentile in whiff percentage, 99th in K percentage. Like he was still pretty dominant.
I know his strikeout numbers were really good. There's no question. But how do we explain some of the other numbers that aren't so good? We just kind of throw those to the side.
Again, I think he got barreled a little bit more last year. So I get what you're saying.
Okay. We'll let it play out.
I think his stuff is still good.
Remember, they don't have the security blanket of Ryan Presley this year. I like Abreu. I think he's really good. But they signed Hader to give themselves a 3-headed monster there at the back end. And I'm sure there are other guys that could get into that role if need be. And I'm not saying that it's time to push a panic button. The question was, which of the two might you be a little more concerned about? So I picked one. You said neither.
I'm really not worried about either.
Okay.
I'd like them both on my team.
Williams, by the way, gave up. Remember, he missed half the year because of that back injury. Gave up 3.
I'll give you one nugget here that supports your case. 9th percentile in barrel percentage. So he got barreled last year.
Ooh. Okay.
Stop missing over the middle of the plate so much. If you miss off the plate.
All right. Phillies had no clue what to do with Mackenzie Gore of the Washington Nationals on Thursday. 0. Like, that's almost the number of hits they got. He gave up 1 hit in 6 shutout innings, 13 strikeouts, no walks. And once he left, it was a different story. Phillies came back against the Nats bullpen. Nats did the same, went to extras. Philadelphia ended up winning the game. Meanwhile, the White Sox, the mighty White Sox, they beat the Angels 8-1. Infielder Nicky Lopez, I'm going to repeat this. Infielder Nicky Lopez had to get the last out of the 8th inning for the Halos. That was his debut for LA, by the way. It wasn't as like a pinch hitter or a pinch runner or defensive replay. It was as a pitcher. He's an infielder. Bigger pitching headline. What Mackenzie Gore did against the Phillies, or the fact that it's game 1 and the Angels used a position player to pitch.
What was the question again? I'm sorry. That video, dude.
Basically, I'm asking, what are we walking away from day 1 with?
I'm
the
watching.
Fact that Mackenzie Gore was awesome, or the fact that the Angels and Ron Washington used an infielder on day 1 to pitch?
I don't want to talk about the Angels like that. Didn't Mike Trout get hit his first at bat and like
Yes,
the
he
wrist, like, and then this, and then
Yes,
they got obviously blown out. Sean Burke, who I think you're talking about later, just dominated. I'll go Mackenzie Gore. My question to Nationals fans is, I've watched him pitch. I guess maybe not a ton. I have watched him start before. Is he always so in control of his body like this? This looks like somebody who is so strong right now. Look at like when he's finishing, that balance right there. First of all, I love the taking off of the glove every time, but he just looks so in control of everything. 93 pitches through 6. Then obviously he gets taken out and their bullpen blows it, which is like, why do I have to take him out at 93 pitches? What's the point?
Well,
what's the point, Chris?
I mean, it is day 1. I don't know how much.
What does that mean?
It's day 1.
Day 1 of what?
I mean, it was 6 innings. He wasn't going to go 9. I mean, the
don't
thing
you
was,
want to shorten the game as much as possible?
I get it.
13K. Was it 14 through 6 or 13?
It was 13. In fact, he joined Bob Gibson as the only pitchers in opening day history to have at least 13 strikeouts, 0 walks, and give up 0 runs.
He was absolutely dominant, and he was is it the pitches, or that they didn't want him to face the third time through the order again, because that's who was coming up. I don't
imagine
know.
That's it.
I don't know.
No, that
there's no evidence, by the way, of that like any of this pitch count stuff matters.
I know, but are you going to let him throw 130 pitches?
I don't know. I don't even know what I'm talking about. I guess I'm just upset that immediately when he came out, I mean, I'm not upset that Phillies came back, but like, if you're a Nationals fan, you're thinking the exact same thing.
Yeah, for me, I wonder if this, because we've been waiting for the jumping off point for Mackenzie Gore. Last year, he threw 166 innings, which was 30 more than the previous season. The important thing was he made 32 starts, right? So he was healthy. He was available. That's great. That's all big stuff. I love that. I don't love it that he gave them barely 5 innings a start. Need more, What you want him to be like let's work into the 7th, because he was a top 5 pick by the Padres and then came over in a huge trade. So let's do it. Go make sure this is your year. You be the face of the Washington Nationals pitching staff. Be the next guy. Be the Strasburg. Be the Max Scherzer. Be that dude.
Do you think Nats fans are like, okay, good, like, let's like make sure he gets through this season and then we can unleash him next year? Or is it like, no, like, let's go get it, boys?
He's in his mid-20s, and this is his 4th season in the big leagues.
No, I agree with that. I just asked why he got taken out after 6, but I'm saying Nationals fans, I'm curious if they thought that was the right move or not. Because, you see your team and you want to make sure your guys are healthy. I don't know.
There were, listen, it's day 1. God forbid something happens. And you said there's no correlation, so I'm with you on that. But would you really love to be the manager who on day 1 left him in a little too long? You'd rather err, because people aren't going to we're going to talk.
Predict when that's the thing, is you can't predict when any of that's going to happen. There are some markers that you can look at. There's data everywhere, so you can look at, velo dropping. I'm sure they have more than that now. Like, where, like, arm angle, is it the same? We had Eno Saris on Talking Baseball. He's talking about really what they think they have found is like if you're throwing max effort on sliders, that is proved to be like maybe the worst thing for your arm.
I was happy to see Paul Skeens stay out there as long as he did. I mean, they let him try and get out of trouble. He couldn't do it, but that was encouraging, I thought. So maybe that's a sign that they're letting a guy who's 6'6", 250 grow up and be a big boy after all. I'm sorry, I have to talk more about Nicky Lopez. I can't let it go without this. If you were a player, a position player on the Angels, you know that they only used 2 other pitchers on this day, Kikuchi and Ryan Johnson, who became the 24th player in big league history to go right from being drafted to skip minor leagues and go play in the show.
That's insane.
He was a second-round pick, and he gave him 1 great inning, and then after 11 pitches, Wash trotted him out there and blew up. He ended up throwing 35 pitches, but I don't understand this. It's day 1. They have an off day on Friday.
Did Mickey Moniak get an upgrade?
When he signed with the Rockies?
That's so mean. Sorry, Swilly. Well,
yes, because he gets to talk to Kelsey Wingard.
Oh, that's a good one.
Thank you.
That's a good one.
But can you answer my question?
What's the question?
If you're a veteran on the Angels, aren't you thinking like, what the fuck are we doing? Why is a position player throwing on day 1?
Yeah, I yes, 1,000% you're thinking that.
I don't get it.
There's a full arsenal of the guys back here. I'm sure they're amped up wanting to throw too. They don't care what the score is. They want to get in there. It's opening day. Like everyone's raring to go.
And you have an off day on Friday? Okay. Whatever.
That's going to be an interesting mixture right there.
I have to go to Anaheim a lot for my new show too. So
I had some Anaheim stuff today.
All I can tell you is that the Angels didn't have the worst day of anybody from Anaheim. Somebody else did. There's a reason I'm wearing an Orioles hat today. They went homer happy in their first game of the year, and we should have known it because they signed Mr. Muscles, Tyler O'Neill, in the offseason.
O'Neill drives one the other way. That's headed out toward right field. He's done it again! The unstoppable opening day machine. Tyler O'Neill has homered for a 6th consecutive year on opening day. This time, he does it in his home country. Look out in Burnaby.
6 straight opening days.
Incredible.
6.
That's walking to the park knowing you're going to hit a homer. Like, it's my day. Like, this is my day. I'm hitting a homer.
I'm guessing that was a shot of his pops who was standing up and clapping.
I was just going to say that guy's got a tan. Like, what's going on? Like, he seems like he's probably has a lot of fun in his life.
His dad was whatever the equivalent of Mr. like Canada is. Like, he was, well, you can tell. I mean, Tyler with his freaking shirt off looks like he was chiseled out of granite. I think his dad was a very famous power lifter and poser. I always looked at that and I was like, do I want to look that way? Like, how would I do in the pose?
I've thought multiple times to myself, I'm like, what if I just ate like a strict diet and worked out like is that something I want to do in my life? Do I want to get like roped up one last time? Or do I just want to be like good enough?
I think good enough.
Is that it? Am I done with like I think I got one more like session in me, dude.
You're 39, right? Do you turn 40 in June?
No, I'm turning 39. So I think I need to do it because if you're doing it in your 40s, is that like people are like, hey, bro, like relax a little bit?
And you'll need a lot of help.
I need to do it this year, huh?
This is it.
Okay, I'm going to do it. Should I do it for the people?
Well, leave a comment. Let us know. Do you want to see a yoked up Plouffe? If so, if you do that, you've got to put the oils on.
I'm going to call Tyler O'Neill.
Yes. Fake tan and oil it up. Oil it up.
Okay.
All right. The bigger question is that neither one of us picked the Orioles to make the postseason party. Team might have some pitching issues, although Zach Eflin was wonderful on opening day. Are we underestimating the ability of their offense to carry this team to October?
It's like, I'm not saying the Orioles can't make the playoffs. I didn't pick them to, but they're obviously a team that's going to be there, Chris. So there's like,
Hold on.
Okay.
Thus, you're saying the Orioles can't make the playoffs. If you didn't predict them to make the playoffs, you're saying
no,
they're
this is a good baseball team, okay? Like, sometimes you just got to take your shot, all right? This is what I thought when I was watching this game, though, was, and they did exactly what you're supposed to do, but these were meatballs. Like, these pitches, oh my goodness. And like, I don't mean to be, I mean, look at that pitch. You're supposed to do what he did to that pitch. And Barrios, I believe Rutschman has like crazy numbers against Barrios, so that was going to happen. He hits 2, Mullins hits 2, Cowser hit 1. Like, it was bombs away, man.
Yeah.
I don't think I answered your question. Can they carry them? I don't know. Yes, I mean, I think their offense has a chance to be really, really good. We didn't take notice of the offense necessarily. It was more, like you said, like the pitching, starting pitching.
Mm-hmm. The offense was great last year. Only the Yankees hit more homers. They were 4th in runs scored. They were 4th in OPS. They were a great offense last year, and they made the playoffs, and then they still haven't won a playoff game in over a decade. So now, here's the thing. You and I both think there's 2 teams in the American. Well, sorry, you and I think there's 1 team that's better in the American League East. I don't
collectively,
right? I have 2 teams better, Boston and New York.
Well, I have 2 teams as well.
Who'd you have?
Boston and the Rays. I have the Rays in the playoffs.
Oh, yeah, you do. Well, that's interesting. Okay, so, yeah, we both think that there's multiple teams that are better than Baltimore this year.
I want to see the Rays playing playoff baseball.
You know what?
Who knows if they'll be able to host a game, but
okay, I'm gonna throw this out.
Okay,
I will change my thought process on the Orioles making the playoffs if they pull off a major trade. Now, Zach Eflin was a very good trade last year. Rogers was not a good trade last year. I'm talking about a major, let's change the top of our rotation look so that if we get to October, we're going to win a game, if not a series.
They did that last year, Chris.
With whom?
Corbin Burns?
Yeah, but that was before the season started.
Okay, you're talking about mid-season acquisition now.
That's what I'm saying.
I mean, they did it last year. Corbin Burns was an acquisition.
He was a good acquisition.
I don't know, man. Yeah, I'm in on the Orioles. I love playing in Baltimore. I love the fan base there. I love everything about that team. I want to see them do it. I just didn't pick them to, be in the playoffs.
Right.
Somebody's got to lose. I had to explain that to my son today. Like, somebody's got to lose. There's 4 people here. Only one person can win this card game we're playing. Like, just relax.
Oh, does Teddy, does he get competitive in card games?
He's pretty good about it. We've had many talks, and baseball helps with that.
Yeah.
But tonight he was just not having it. Yeah.
I had that with one of my 2 kids. I won't tell you which one, but it was tough.
But Dad, you're cheating. I'm like, I am not cheating.
I'm not cheating.
I'm better than you guys.
I'm just kicking your ass, kid. Just wear it. Just wear it. I was happy to see Cedric Mullins and Adley Rutschman both hit multiple homers. Those are guys that need to pick it up. Mullins coming off the lowest OPS since he became a regular in Baltimore. Adley, we talked about it on Thursday's show. His OPS last year was down 100 points. He won't come out and say it about the whole injury thing, but there was something going on last year. So it's good that those 2 guys are off to good starts. All right. Last one. We had some fun late inning stuff happen on opening day. We had our first walk-off, which was really cool. We had a couple of game-changing home runs in the 9th inning as well. The sights and sounds, they were magnifique.
High drive to left. Done back. Out of here.
In the 0-2. Stowers rips down the right field line. That gets in, and the ball game is over. Kyle Stowers with a line shot down the right field line, and it's a walk-off winner for the Fish.
Abreu. High fly shot deep into the alley. That's way back there, and that ball is gone.
By the way, the first highlight was the go-ahead homer by San Francisco in Cincinnati, where they were actually trailing going in the ninth. They get a tying single, I believe, and then a homer by Flores. And it was a great call by Dwayne Kuiper. I'm so happy to hear him be able to do those.
Absolutely.
That booth is one of the great, great local broadcasts across all of sports. And both those guys in Kruk and Kipe have battled health issues. So the fact that they were able to do that for opening, or Kipe was able to do that on opening day, fantastic. Love hearing that. Really, really good. Give us one pitcher and one position player that deserves a little shine here on opening day that we haven't already talked about. We'll each go with a pitcher. You go first.
We talked about a lot of them. I'm going to go with my guy, Framber Valdez. People slept on his year last year. They've slept on his career. Like, this guy, what's he going to make? Because this is what I think about him. I believe he's 31 or 32. His stuff, I don't think it's going to diminish. Like, it's not a velocity base necessarily. He can run it up there every once in a while. But for his entire career, Chris, this is what he's done. I throw a sinker and I throw a curveball. And you might hit my sinker hard, but it's going to be right into the ground. And that's it. Like, those are my two pitches. Hey, I got a slider, I got a changeup, whatever. But he's had two pitches. And like, it just seems like he's got it. So if I'm a team looking for a starting pitcher that's going to be durable and a guy that I can rely on, I think Framber, who's pitched in every situation possible, all the big games, and has just been as consistent as can be. He's made his starts. Like, this is the guy I want to be paying. So shout out Framber.
Great point. I'm going to go with a guy who is on the opposite end of the spectrum, who has zero experience in any sort of situation. 5 career games for Sean Burke. We all had to look him up when we found out the White Sox were making him the opening day starter against the Angels. We were like, huh? 6 shutout innings, 3 hits, no walks. He's not a huge strikeout guy there. Coming into the game, 19 career innings pitched. 19. The last guy who had fewer to start an opener for a team was Fernando Valenzuela.
Okay. And that was on accident. That was an illness, right?
Yeah. I think Jerry Royce, something happened to him. And so they were like, Fernando, go do it. And then all he did was like throw 18 shutouts in the first 2 months or whatever it was. I'm going to guess Sean Burke won't duplicate that, but good for that dude. That's awesome.
Wait, by the way, this guy's been nasty. So maybe he will replicate it.
Well, they said, I was listening to a little of the broadcast, and they said one of the things that they liked about him was that he wasn't scared. Last year, he went into San Diego to pitch, and it was a big game for the Padres, who were fighting it out in the wild card. And you know how crazy that atmosphere can be.
Yes.
Some guys will, might have to change their uni after an inning. He didn't have to do that. Good for him. Awesome. And good for Will Venable getting his first win as a manager. How about a position player? What do you got?
I'm going to go with both of our guys. Vinny Pasquantino. He leaned back on a curveball. Don't throw curveballs right here to lefties. That's called the honey hole right there. And I feel for him, Chris, because as a ball player, when you put your team up 3-0 in those sick unis at home on opening day, you're like, I'm going to be the hero. Everyone's going to talk to me after the game. And then, well, you cough up the lead and then you lose the game.
Yeah.
And nobody really remembers it. So I want to shout out Vinny.
I know, but
homer, bro.
He did something else. He had a leadoff double against Emmanuel Clase in the 9th. He had got pinch ran for because he's got that grade 1 hamstring strain, right? He was like hobbling into second base. They ended up tying the game, forcing extras. Part of the reason that people couldn't talk to Vinny afterward and saying, hey, you're the hero of the game, was because of my choice, Kyle Manzardo, who had a double, a triple, and a homer. And he became just the 3rd player to do that on opening day, joining Don Baylor and Guy Walker. G-E-E in 1937. The best part about this for Cleveland fans is that all 3 of those extra base hits came against lefties.
Yeah.
He only had 20 career at-bats, I believe, against left-handed pitching before this. He had a 556 OPS against left-handed pitching. They're going to need him to be the everyday DH. They're going to. This lineup's not deep enough to not have it one of their best barrelers on the team.
Two things. He looks like Jeff Kent right now. So that's interesting. Like, shout out Jeff Kent. I used to really like him as a player. I don't know why.
Yeah.
And also,
by the way, not the best dude.
No, I don't
Really good
really
player.
know.
Really good
Yeah.
player.
He was a good player, put it that way. Didn't he
Yep.
play for the Dodgers and the Giants as well?
Yeah, played for Toronto, played for Cleveland, played for the Mets, played for a lot of teams.
So talk about Manzardo and lefties. Justin Morneau always talks about that. Justin Morneau, 2006 AL MVP, Justin Morneau, Twins Hall of Famer. The first couple of years, he didn't really hit lefties and really didn't get a big chance to hit lefties. And then finally was able, to get some at bats and was not a platoon guy. And he became an MVP. And so, he always talks about, if I didn't get the chance to get some at bats against lefties, I wouldn't have got better, or I wouldn't have been the kind of player I ended up being. So, sometimes, man, you just gotta let it happen. You gotta let these guys face lefties. They've done it their entire life, and all of a sudden, you're like, oh, you can't hit lefties. You just can't hit lefties. No chance. And it's like, okay, well, how about you give me some chance to make an adjustment? And I'm happy that he's going to get that chance this year.
Absolutely, he will. All right, it was an awesome opening day. I'm going to tell you, I got all my shit done so I could just sit on the couch starting at noon Pacific time, and it didn't finish until late in the night when the Cubs and Diamondbacks finished off the day. So it was fantastic. Friday is kind of a bummer for some people because they build in the rain date. Like, you get going, you've waited for months and months to watch your team play. Either you feel great because you're like, we got to win, or you're like, God damn, let's just get it to tomorrow. And then you have to wait till Saturday. But I think there's 9 games today, so that part will be nice.
Why didn't we talk about my Twins today?
They lost.
Okay, they did. Had a chance.
Yes, but they didn't win.
Harrison Bader, best pick of the offseason. That's what people are saying, Chris. Nolan Arenado, homer of Griffin Jacks. What are we doing here?
All right, we're off and running. We love it. And we are back on Monday. Cannot believe it. For our one-of-a-kind producer, Dan Rourke, our awesome intern, Sawyer, that is the uber-talented Trevor Plouffe. I am Chris Rose. Have a wonderful opening weekend, baseball fans. We will see you Monday here on Baseball Today.